Some other great progressions we've learned about is trying to build, again, how do you get to that point of being a true bird dog without losing proper posture and alignment. So what we've done is actually use the TRX as another bridge from that valve side, because you're not going to have the low angle of the hip and you're not going to get as much feedback, of course. Now again, we're going to start from an iso pull, so setting up is important properly, meaning that we want the back by Jessica's thighs, not in front of her, and when she sets up in that quadruped position, she's still going to be pushing down in both feet and grabbing the ground. So even though this foot is suspended, she still wants to push down. What she's going to do is grab with the opposite handle, pull out first, and then slowly, as she's pushing through that back leg, go to full extension. So that gives her some guidance as she pulls in, and then she can rest the hand down again. So you always want to grab the handle first. That sort of sets up the core. But if this leg goes out to the side or the foot starts to turn out, it gives me immediate feedback upon some of the compensations she has. What will be very common is that people want to release the stance leg. So remember, both feet are active in this equation, and you're going to have to go one side at a time. And you want to go to full lockout if possible, and see how she points the toes towards her, which gets a little bit more glute activation that helps prevent some of that common hip rotation that you'll see with a lot of your clients. So our next progression would be going to iso pull with both legs in here. Now, of course, this takes ground contact away a little bit more, but the other thing it does is that the TRX allows us to see a seesawing action. So you're going to find how to have relative equal pressure through both legs. Obviously, one side is going to be a little bit more loaded than the other, but you don't want to see seesawing action in the TRX. So that's a good feedback tool for yourself, because both feet still have to be pressed in the ground. So she's going to iso pull and slowly kick one leg out, and you see she does a good job maintaining that stability, that the TRX doesn't seesaw back and forth. And she goes the other side, and again, trying to maintain that pelvic alignment. This gives us a ton of feedback upon how she's engaging her core, her hips, and her upper body at once, and why the tension in the handles are so important. And you see how she's able to keep that crease of the elbow. She's not rotating the elbow out, getting up in the trap or the shoulder during the motion. And then our obvious goal is to add a drag into it. So again, making sure that bag is low to her body, that we still have good alignment, that shoulders are over hands, hips are over knees. She's going to make sure that same seesawing action doesn't happen in the TRX. So she's going to grab on the handle, first load, and then slowly as she can, bring across her body. Plant in the ground again, grabbing the handles first allows her to load up that core, drag as she pushes through her feet, keeping that tension throughout. So again, this is an exercise because the complexity of it is going to be very fatiguing. So you want to do small volume, and you can always regress to some of those other patterns that we just showed you if people are starting to cheat or compensate within the movement. Relax, Jessica. So that you have a way that you keep the quality of work very high and still stay relevant to the exercise. So it's basically, if we went back a step, is like decreasing the weight by 5 or 10 pounds for your clients, so you can keep them working while not having really to alter the implements that you're using.
All right, guys, so again, another DBRT drill that sort of gets easily overlooked is the arc press. It's such a powerful drill because it is a unilateral press and pull, as well as introducing more frontal plane stability. So especially if you have clients who have a hard time getting into the side plank position because of shoulder issues, this is a great way to sort of feed in some of those concepts. I'm just going to quickly demonstrate doing a arc press from a half kneeling position. So one of the benefits of doing it from half kneeling is obviously we get a little bit more of that asymmetrical hip position. Couple keys we want to really emphasize. One is a super active grip by both hands. A lot of people relax their hands. We want to tightly grip the hands. Secondly is elbow position. See how the elbow stays close to her body, but the outside elbow flares out. Okay, so this becomes a push, and then it becomes a pull on the other side. So you want to tightly squeeze the entire time. So you're going to squeeze, press through the ground with both legs, and slowly go. So speed's important too. We're aiming for about 3 to 5 count side to side without moving your head. Just gonna dump down the sandbag for a second. Another thing is understanding that the push and pull are coming from the legs. So I have just gonna, let's say she's gonna try to press my arm up. If she relaxes her feet and tries to press, she's got no strength or stability. But if she presses it into the ground, she's now really strong. So again, the push doesn't come just from the upper body. It comes from ground engagement from the ground up. So those are a couple of keys. Now what we're going to do, and a lot more of those variations are played out in restoration, is show you how you can improve hip mobility and core stability by using a little bit of feedback. So a lot of times, a lot of people have hip flexor issues, the tight hip flexors, as we've talked about, that could be somewhat in response to a weak core. Now, the way we can get around both the flexibility and the core stability is by doing an arc press with a super band feedback. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loop this around her back leg to give her a little traction. So I don't want to be pulling her over. I want her to feel as though she has to push through that back foot, keep that stability in, and that will feel like it's opening up that hip joint. She should be going into the lumbar extension into the movement. The band's also going to make her, again, forcibly push down the ground. So just go loop it around. So you want it probably right around the hip area. So this is going to be the back side. And we want about that 99 degrees. This is going to make her push through both feet. She's going to slowly drive and pull down. So what we would do is, obviously we'd end up doing this to both sides. I'm watching this, her hips in straight alignment. Does her feet go a straight line to her hips, or is she bring her leg in or out, more likely in, and is the front leg straight out from her hip as well. You'll find that people after doing this quickly feel a release in that hip flexor because it's reinforced with active work and core stability and ground engagement. That release lasts longer, especially as they get walking around and performing other things.
So now I can also take the concept of the power press and make it a little bit more athletic. Now, athletic doesn't mean I'm an athlete, it just means that I'm trying to do things that require coordination, agility, and balance. So obviously I want to build that foundation either from a standing pattern or from tall kneeling, but I want to add motion eventually. So again, a lightweight can go very long ways. I've attached my core bag here. I'm actually going to start off by initiating my power press, then I'm going to try to laterally walk. Now the whole time I got to keep packed. It wants to pull this shoulder up and out, so I have to grab harder into the bag, create that squeeze. So again, out, and that tension. So it's a really powerful way of doing a lateral walk, bringing the more frontal plane training as I resist rotation at the same time. Now I'll admit, holding the arms out in front of you while trying to do a lateral walk is incredibly challenging. So you could make it a sort of segmented phase, meaning that I get tension upon the bag, get in my athletic stance, press out, pull in, step across. Press out, pull in, step across. But see how I don't lose slack? I have tension against the straps the entire time as I do the drill, whew, and that becomes a smoker really fast. So if you're not ready for the bag yet, we can still use the handles for a lot of this power off variation. Now, you're gonna be like, hey hypocrite, you said holding one handle with two hands is probably not gonna be optimal in getting this exercise. And you're right, because we're not gonna grab one handle. We're gonna grab both handles. And what we're gonna do is have one in towards my side and the other here. And what I'm gonna do is create that tension into my lats. So I'm gonna have my elbows into my ribs, so I can either hold it close to my body and side movement, which is again gonna introduce that anti-rotational and frontal plane force, or if I simply extend the arms out. Now, when I extend the arms out, see I'm still trying to use those lats and plank out. So the crease of my elbows are forward. I'm not here, I'm here. So now I get that same effect. So a great way you can use the power off if you can't add the bag, because the bag, remember, is now producing a vertical and horizontal force upon my body, where now I'm just getting the horizontal force. It's a little bit easier for me to introduce these concepts. So again, if we did want to increase the weight of the ultimate sandbag, if that was a limiting factor, what we could add is again that extra vector of force, and this is where that Aries slug comes in really handy again. So what we're going to do now is we have the mini band, we have the bag, but we've added a little bit more lateral force to her. So when she steps, she's going to be really loaded up to that hip. Now she's going to press and pull. And now she's going to alternate shoulders. She's going to again step, press, and pull. So again, just by changing a little bit more frontal plane stress, we're getting a little bit more feedback to her body, making that same weight feel heavier. And of course, we could also do that with the arc press out over time as well to make it a little bit more challenging.